Good afternoon. It's story time at Bailey Preschool. The title of our story today is called It's Too Noisy. The author of our book is Joanna Cole. The author is the person that writes the words in the book. The illustrator of our book is Kate Duke. Do you remember what the illustrator does? The illustrator draws all the beautiful pictures. So this is the front cover of our book. And this is the spine of our book. And this is the back cover of the book. When you're listening to the story today, I want you to think about the problem that the main character had and whether or not his problem was solved. Okay? That's what I want you to be thinking about. Was there a problem and was the problem solved? All right, let's begin. It's too noisy. Let's see. Does this book have a title page? Yep, there it is. There's the title again with the author and illustrator. The title is It's Too Noisy. Once there was a little house. Do you know who lived there? A poor farmer lived in that little house with his wife, a grandmother, a grandfather, lots of children, and a little bitty baby in a crib. Day and night, there was always a lot of yelling, singing, snoring, laughing, fighting, and crying. It was too noisy. The poor farmer wanted quiet. He went to the wise man. "Wise man, wise man," he said, "my house is full of people. It's too noisy. Tell me what to do." The wise man closed his eyes. He thought and thought. "Here is what you do," he said. "Bring your rooster and your chickens into the house." "That is a funny thing to do," thought the farmer. But he did what the wise man told him. He got his rooster and his chickens. He put them in the house. That night, there was a lot of yelling, singing, snoring, laughing, fighting, and crying. And now there was a lot of clucking and crowing, too. It was much too noisy. The next day, the farmer went back to the wise man. "I put the rooster and the chickens in the house," he said, "but it was worse than ever." "Then you must put your pigs and your sheep in the house," said the wise man. That is a very funny thing to do, thought the farmer, but he did what the wise man said. That night there was yelling and singing, snoring and laughing, fighting and crying, clucking and crowing, and now there was oinking and bang too. It was even worse than before. The farmer went back to the wise man. "Noise, noise, noise," he said. "I cannot stand it anymore." The wise man said, "Now put your donkey and your cow in the house." "Is the wise man crazy?" thought the farmer. But he did what the wise man said. He put the donkey and his cow in the house. Now there was yelling and singing, snoring and laughing, fighting and crying, clucking and crowing, oinking and banging, and braying and mooing. It was so noisy, the poor farmer did not sleep all night. The farmer went back to the wise man one last time. Wise man, my house is like a barn, he cried. I cannot stand it. The wise man smiled. Here is what you do, he said. Take all the animals out of the house. The farmer ran home. He did just what the wise man said. He put out the chickens. He put out the rooster, he put out the pigs, he put out the sheep and the donkey and the cow. Was the little house still noisy? Well, there was still yelling and singing. There was still snoring and laughing. There was even some fighting and crying. But there was no clucking, no crowing, no oinking, no bang. And thank heaven there was no mooing or braying either. And to the farmer, that little house seemed as quiet can be. The end. Did you enjoy that story? I love that story so much. It's so funny because the farmer thought he had a problem, right? He said his house was too noisy. And then that wise man showed him, with all those animals were in his house, how noisy his house could really be. So, do you think the farmer solved his problem? I hope that you enjoyed that story. I hope that you were paying attention to the problem and whether or not the problem was solved. Maybe you were paying attention to the types of characters that were in this book, because there were human or people characters, and then there were also animal characters in the book. All right, Bailey Preschool, we always have the most enjoyable story time here, so come back for another story, okay? And like this video. Bye.